Hello, my name is Paul Hearn, and in this video we're going to be looking at formulas in Excel. In Excel, all formulas start with an equal sign. The main mathematical operators in formulas are the add, subtract, divide and multiply. Now, it's a little bit different than the normal multiply symbol that we'd use in mathematics. In computing languages, it tends to be the asterisk sign, which is the Shift 8 on the normal computer keyboard. So the Shift 8 gives you the asterisk, which is the multiply sign in computing. Within formulas, there's the normal BODMAS rules, so anything that is inside brackets takes precedence. Then there's the ordinals or indices. After that we have divide and multiply, or multiply and divide, and then we have addition and subtraction. So if we're looking at these calculations, so the 4 plus 3 times 3, well, the 3 times 3 takes precedence there, so 3 times 3 are 9, plus 4 is 13. Whereas the next one down, the second formula we're looking at, we do the 4 plus 3 first because that is inside brackets. So 4 plus 3 is 7 times 3 is 21. The third formula is 3 times 4, which is 12, plus the 4, which is 16. And then the last formula there is 4 plus 4, which is 8 times 3 is 24. So there's some different examples. So the brackets always get done first. Now let's have a look at some formulas in Excel. For this exercise, we're going to use our basic formula spreadsheet. Open up your Writing Formula 1 worksheet. The first thing I want to talk about is cell referencing. So within Excel, if I use the equal sign, which always starts functions and formulas, and then click on another cell, I get the value that's in the other cell passed into the cell where I have the equal sign. So if I'm saying this equals C4, then the contents or the value in C4 will be written to E4 in this case. So I'm going to hit the return key. So if I change the hours worked there to 25, this also changes to 25. So you can see there's a dynamic relationship between the value in this cell and the value in this cell. If I look at the function bar, I can see that the actual content of this cell is equal to C4. And this is displayed then as 25 in the cell. If I drag this down, and this is, I think, an important point, if I drag this down, then I will get whatever is in the adjacent cell. 23 and 23, 45 and 45. And if you look here, you will see that this is equal to C4, that this is equal to C5, C6, and so on. This is called relative addressing. Okay, so in this one here, we have to work out the fees. So the starting fee here is £100. Joe has worked for 23 hours, and the rate per hour is £50. So in this case, we're going to multiply whatever is in the C4 cell with what is in the D4 cell. Then we'll add the starting fee. So in here, in my fee cell, I'm going to start this with an equal sign. You can see that when I type in here, I also get the same text appearing in the function bar here at the top. So it's equals, and formulas always start with an equal. C4, and the easiest thing is to click on the cell in order to get the C4, times D4, and then I hit return to get me the result. Now I want to get the total charge including the starting fee. Now there's a couple of ways I could do this. Probably the easiest way is for me to say equals the fees plus the starting fee. So that's E4 plus B4, and that gets me a result. There may be a better way to do this. At the minute, the result in this cell relies on the result in this cell. That means if somebody at a future date deletes this column, then we lose our result here. So it's probably better practice to say, well, I'm going to put a formula in here in this F4 cell, which will actually do the calculation independent of the result that's in here. So now I can say equals whatever is in this cell times the rate per hour plus the starting fee. I don't need a bracket because the multiplication symbol takes precedence. So the multiplication gets done first and then the addition, which is what I want. So when I click return, then I get my result here. And if somebody comes along later and deletes the fees column, then I still have my result. The next thing I want to describe is how to copy the formula in one cell to other cells. So just bear in mind, in this cell we have C4 times D4 plus B4. Now if I grab with my cursor see the little green box just on the right hand bottom corner of that cell and start to drag that down, that also brings down the formula. Again, it's relative, so now it's C5 times D5 plus B5, so this is relative addressing, and I can just bring that right on down to the bottom of that column. I'm going to go quickly through examples 2, 3, 4 and 5 now. I mentioned in a previous video that we can calculate the difference between two dates just by subtracting one date from the other. So my formula for this will be equals to the later date, and we subtract from that the earlier date, and that will give me a duration. If I want to know what date occurs 30 days after this end date in this example, all I have to do is say this cell equals this cell plus 30. You'll have noticed that this cell here defaults to a date type, and that is because the calculation involves a date. Similarly to before, I can now click on this cell, drag across to the adjacent cell like this so that I have both cells selected, grab the little green box and drag down, and that will bring down all of my answers for me. Example 3. Now this is quite similar, so we've got 2 times and I just want to calculate the difference between the 2 times here. So this is the earlier time and the later time, so subtract the earlier from the later equals the later time, take away the earlier time, 2 hours, and that's correct. It's always a good idea just to check that your answer looks correct. Okay, this is a percentage question, so the pension at 5% and pension at 10%, so what would I have to contribute? So the 5% equates to 0.05, so I'm going to type in here equals whatever's in that cell times 0.05. 0.05 is a decimal equivalent to 5%. And for our 10%, it'll be 0.1, so equals whatever's in that cell times 0.1. Again, select the 2 cells and drag that formula down. Okay, so this is my budget. This is the amount I spent. So the amount I have left is the budget, subtract the amount spent. So this is fairly straightforward. Equals the budget, subtract the amount spent. Again, I can just drag that formula down. So lastly, we're going to look at the percentage spent. And that means we have to look at the amount spent as a percentage of the original budget amount of £10,000. Easiest way to work that out is to divide whatever's in that cell by the original budget. This cell divided by this cell. Now this is going to give me the answer as a decimal, and what I now have to do is convert that cell to a percentage by clicking on the percentage button at the top. And now I can drag that formula down, and that's the job done. I would encourage you now to look at the Writing Formula 2 and the Writing Formula 3 worksheets and have a go at those.